Hey guys, welcome to Mixed Emotions. My name is Mihir Oak, and today we'll be discussing something called justification and what it means, what it is, what do you do when you justify, why do you feel like justifying yourself, your actions, your thought process, what comes to your mind when you want to justify, what triggers justification, and why do you do it. This is what is going to be today's topic. And yeah, let's get straight to it. What is justification? And what is the difference between justifying and explaining yourself? Justifying normally is something that you do by yourself without being asked. Normally, it is that only. As against explaining, wherein you are having a conversation with somebody and they ask you to explain your actions, and so you go ahead and you explain. Justifying, on the other hand, is you do it by yourself, and you do it in a way in which you view yourself in contention with views of society, and being the most righteous in society, because we all like to be accepted, and we all like that our ideas are accepted, and that just has a positive effect on us, that we know that we are the most right when it comes to our actions, when it comes to our thought process, and we want to be in line with what society seeks is the best way to be, right. In Christian theology, justification is basically explanation against a penalty or a sin um, that is incurred because of the feeling of guilt that you get um, from your actions that you do. In view of societal matters, it is very clearly mentioned, in view of societal matters. Basically, your explanation to the society on why the society should accept your intention and your decision is what justification is. And it really comes down to this term called cognitive dissonance, which was coined by Mr. Leon Festinger in 1950s, late 1957, wherein he said that human minds undergo psychological stress when they make decisions. Psychological stress comes from, now there are, you have two ways, two thought processes you have inside your mind. One is your core belief system, your internal self image of yourself, and of the views that you have around the stuff that makes up your life. Your self image is mostly a higher morale, a higher standard that you need to live up to have a fulfilled life, and that is like the most right, um, um, the right values, right beliefs, right thought processes, right actions that you could live up to, in order to feel fulfilled and to feel that you're progressing in that direction. That is your core belief system, and then is your ideas and your thought process and your daily thinking and what you think about stuff. Now, when there is a contradiction between the two, you have stress. When your core belief and your thought process do not mingle and do not agree with each other, it means that you will have anxiety, and you will have a constant thought if you are thinking correctly, and you might have guilt and you might have stress, right. um, it actually signals that it is because, basically, it does not signal, it is because the brain is a lazy organ. It does not want to work. at all. Okay, which is why humans are inherently lazy, because we don't want to work, because our brain does not want to work. It wants to have least it wants to put in least effort in anything that it does. And when it has a core belief system and a idea or a thought which is not agreeing with each other, which means the brain has to sit on the same table with the thought process and the core belief, and has to adjust with both together, which means that it has to put in work. And once the brain has to put in work, it means that you will have stress, psychological stress. That is what happens when you are when you make a decision and you feel bad about it. This is what happens because you made a decision um, based on your belief system, and your thought. um, you've made a decision based on your thought, and then it contradicts your belief system, so it leads to stress, which then leads to justification. I'll tell you how that leads to justification of the stress. So the stress that is caused in the brain makes you feel guilty, makes you feel angry, makes you feel, and these are all negative emotions which you do not want to feel. So the brain has to come up with ideas that so that you do not feel this way. So you start explaining to yourself why your decision is right, why your action was right, so that they come in line with your core belief system. So there are three things that can happen, and that happen when your core belief system and your idea and your thought process do not mix. So, for the brain to not undergo so much stress, so that the brain, because it does not like to work, right? So then to be at least work, it can do three things. It can either change its behavior, that's one. It can either change its behavior, that's one. It can change its thinking in two ways. One is it can change its core belief system, or it can change the way it thinks about it thinks, right? So there are three ways: either you change your behavior, you change your core belief system, or the way you think. Right now, if you take an example of say smoking in teens, um, what happens? I mean, we are taught not only in school but by society, by everyone around us, that smoking is bad for health. Smoking causes cancer, and yeah, smoking is just the worst thing, right? But still, once you go out of college, you see a lot of teens just just start smoking, right? And why does that happen? Yeah. So we were at the instance of explaining why do yeah, I mean, why do kids get out of school and start smoking? Why do kids get out of college and start smoking? I mean, we taught all along that smoking is bad for health, right? We know that smoking causes cancer. Like, we absolutely know that it does. There is no way that anybody does not know. Anybody who starts smoking does not know. So then why? Why does it happen? Again, it goes down to rationalizing versus your rationale. Versus the three things that we spoke about. Either you change your belief system, either you change your behavior, or you change your thoughts, right? A person who is a smoker, right, and he wants to quit smoking, for whatever reason that he thinks is right, that he wants to quit. Changing behavior. I mean, there are three things again he can do: change behavior, change thinking, change thought, core beliefs. So change behavior is you can kick the butt, you can just stop, you can just not do it anymore. That's quitting. Right. So the second is you either
change your belief system or you change your thinking, right? Um, and there was a research conducted in 1997 for a group of more than 360 adolescent smokers, heavy smokers, who I don't know, who wanted to quit, who could not quit, and who went to any extent to explain to themselves why they should not quit. I mean, it was found that the heavier the smoker, the more likely it was that you would change your perception about how bad it is to smoke. I mean, it is more likely that you would justify why you're smoking, and why you think that smoking is not as bad as what your core belief system is, which means that you are changing your core belief system to be in line with your thoughts. That's why you feel that smoking is not as bad as you once originally thought, because you feel that, oh, now I know that smoking is not as bad at all. I mean, you go to say that smoking is cool, like socially it is accepted, it is 100% healthy. I know 87-year-olds who have smoked all their lives and are still alive. So that doesn't mean that smoking really causes cancer. Stuff like that. Those kind of stories you start feeding yourself to realize that your core belief system is not as right as what you were taught it was to be. And so you start changing it. You start believing that smoking is cool, smoking is fun, you like it, it is enjoyable to you, which means that you are now conditioning your brain to feel that smoking is not as bad as you once thought. And so your current thought process is now in line with your belief system, and so there is no resistance, right? And so the brain does not have to work that hard to come in line. So now you are morally, for yourself, you are morally correct, right? And that is the first step, right? First, you have to justify your actions to yourself. And once you're morally correct to yourself, that is when you get the power to then justify your actions to society, right? So it's fascinating how that works, right? And once you're in, once you are convinced that smoking is not that bad, you like it, you really like it, I mean, then there's nothing stopping you, right? And that is why it becomes harder for you to leave, because the resistance is not there. If there was guilt, right? If there was guilt that you used to smoke but you don't know how to quit, because you know it is bad but you're still doing it, that means there's resistance. That means there is contradiction between what you feel internally, what your belief system is, and what you're doing, right? So that makes it easier for you to quit, right? That makes it easier for you to be able to get a control of yourself, right? Because you know that it is wrong. The first thing you know it is wrong, um, which then leads to better. So in the end, justification comes down to your belief system and what you tell yourself first. So what I was saying, the three again, coming back to the three ways you can change your um you can change why you want to justify is change behavior, change core belief, change thought process. We spoke about behavior and core belief. Thought process is rather mild, I would say. It is more like the way you change your thinking to make yourself feel guilty. That you know that your belief is right. You know that smoking is bad. Um, so either you accept that smoking is bad and then you continue doing it, or you know that smoking is bad and you know that what you're doing is wrong by continuing to smoke, which causes the resistance in the brain, as I said earlier, which then makes the brain to get your belief in line with your actions. So you eventually quit smoking, so that your actions then come in line with your belief. And so your behavior changes. And then finally, that's it. You are in line, the brain does not have to work anymore, and that is it. That is why automation works. so well because it signals the brain that I have to do less work, right? And that is what the brain wants to do. It exactly wants to do that. It wants to work less. Um, so yeah, so automation is the future. It is, and it'll always be. And unless you reskill, sorry, we're going off topic here, but unless you reskill, it is not going to work. Yeah. So yeah, coming back to justification, we heard of these three things to make yourself self-righteous, and only once you are self-righteous, once you are in line with your beliefs and with your thought process and with in line with your behavior, anything in line with your brain working. There is no in line with your conscience. Let's take it that way. Your conscious is the ultimate factor towards feeling guilty or feeling not guilty, right? I mean, your heart literally hate like it hurts, right? You get that anxiety literally in your chest when you do something regrettable, right? Why regrettable? Because it does not fall in line with your thought process. That's why regrettable, right? And you would want to change it, but now then you don't know how to. There's no way you can justify as well, which is crazy. And because justification is still easy, right? If you cannot justify, you're fucked. I mean, it's it, it's 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 a nightmare, right? So yeah, so coming back to justification, right? It is in sense of moral good that you do it. And the way we are conditioned is that we need to look morally right in terms of society because that is the way we're conditioned. Because negativity bias that we have, we overestimate. It's called impact bias. We overestimate the how hard we're going to fall, how badly we're going to get hurt if we get rejected by a job interview or on a date, or you get rejected by anybody, or your idea is rejected or your action is rejected. Do we anticipate that the hurt we are going to feel and the sadness that we're going to feel is 10x, is 10 times the thing it actually we might end up feeling, right? In that these scenarios, we choose to then be on the most right path so that our opinions are accepted, our thought process is accepted, our behaviors are accepted, and yeah, that means our conscience is accepted. And once that happens, we feel so fulfilled, that's it. I mean, there's so much energy, then there's so much fulfillment because we're progressing in line of societal views, right? So justification plays a role here because we want to be most right in terms of how the society views our actions, our thought process, and we want our conscience to be in line with everything so that we feel more fulfilled and progress, and we progress as individuals, right? So next time you justify, next time you are explaining your actions, you think about why you're doing it. You see around you, it's happening all the time. You see people doing it all the time, and then you realize that you're taking a lot of shit for granted because this is the reason why you will justify. And if you take out that block, if you take out the intention of being righteous all the time, you know that your conscience is pretty great wherever it is, and technically you don't really need to explain yourself. And that is exactly where, unless you're in a corporate environment and you are working for somebody and your actions directly relate to the profit and loss of your team or your company, I'm not talking about those justifications where that is solely up to you and how you do your work. But morally, if you feel morally wronged, if you feel the injustice in your heart that you're being discriminated against in place of your ideas and your actions, think about why you feel the need to justify, and what is it? Is it the world that is discriminating against you, or is it your belief system, which is typically the thing that you really need to work on? Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you liked and found this session interesting. Um, I have also attached an article link in the bio. You could check it out as well if you want to go deeper than what I have covered, deeper on the subject. Because what I've done is just skimmed the surface. You could find out more on your own with the references that I have mentioned in the article. So yeah, I'll be glad. I would love your feedback. In any way you can give. In the comment section, you can DM me. You can do anything that uh, is feasible for you. I would also. You could also drop suggestions of something that you would like me to cover, and I would be glad to take that ahead. Also, to note, the last thing is that our benefactor for this whole series, audio video series, is this company called Embedos Engineering. If you, in person, or anybody who you might know, is related to industrial automation and deals in and would want remote monitoring and control solutions for their factories, for their industries, for their the works. You could hit Embedos Engineering at www.embedos.io and check them out. Cheers and stay tuned for the next topic that is going to be the psychology behind the good cop, bad cop technique. We all know what that is, but why does it really work? And we'll talk more on that next time. Thank you so much. Take care.